You're such an asshole.
Yawning, Cappy. Oh, God, I got a lot of work to do. I still. All right. Continuing on. It's $100 minimum super chat because I got to bang out through these videos and don't really have time for super chats. If you don't have $100, that's perfectly all right. We'll do it tomorrow, the day after. I just got to play catch up. So I got one I had to sit and think about and take some notes. So I apologize if I'm meandering, but I'll read his request and I'll kind of go through the notes I got and kind of clarify, I think, what he's trying to say. Dear Cappy, many people I used to blame the government, corporations, feminism, and social media for the sex war. It wasn't until I came across you and Coach Greg Adams that I changed my perspective. For the rest of this request, I'll simply be referring to these four institutions as the boogeymen. For the record, I'm not in favor of taking away women's rights or any sort of retribution against them. I've come to accept women for who they are and bear them no ill will. But this is something I've been pondering for a while. Why do people need a boogeyman to blame? Maybe these boogeymen do play. Well, let me interrupt real quick before I go to my notes, because right now, men feel aggrieved, right? There's a problem. Something must have caused the problem. And they see institutions largely promoting feminism for various political and profit motivations. But I'll say that's why men are looking for something to blame. Because something ain't, the car ain't working. We got to find a reason to blame. The alternator. So it's very logical there. But that's not all people in general are looking for something to blame, but the men certainly are. So just to clear that up. Maybe these boogeymen do play a part in all of this, but I believe they merely knew about human nature and how to exploit what was already there. Bingo. And I think they may have happened upon it by trial and error and accident. I don't even think it was conscious. I try not to assume women hate men, but I do believe women harbor a deep resentment towards men for the past. I will, again, interject here just to define where people stand. I don't think women, even as a group, don't harbor deep resentment towards men for the past. I think most women don't like men. They don't hate them. They're very indifferent. I think that captures the majority of women. If you want, go get my book, A World Without Men, and I break down what I estimate women's opinion of men is, from love and like to actual misandry, actual hatred of and contempt of men. But I think annoyed and indifferent is where the vast majority of women are today and have always been in the past. They are just not interested in men that much. On men's part, I believe that it comes from an unwillingness or inability to accept the truth that women aren't interested in most men. People like Matt Walsh don't help because they lay 100% of the blame on men. They refuse to hold women accountable for their part in all of this. Yes, Matt is also traditional. He comes from a different background. He's happily married, has a family. That might color or bias that. And I would also agree with you that, yes, a lot of this is men sticking their head in the ground and ignoring that's why I wrote the book, A World Without Men, and the Book of Numbers, because there's numbers, especially now we got online dating data, which I know is not a perfect facsimile of the real world, but you just need to remove your bias from what you want and look at it. And yes, I will stay with the fact most women are not interested in most men. But because of traditionalism and traditional momentum that is carried, well, you just got to marry the right girl, son. It's not a shock that Matt Walsh is hanging out with guys like Dennis Prager and Dave Ramsey. Nothing wrong with those two guys, but they old. They are from the F4 Phantom days. They probably think the F4 Phantom is a great fighter plane, and it was 50 fucking years ago. But it's a bit outdated now. On women's part, I believe it is an attempt to escape consequences. Some realize that as a group they fucked up. They see the possibility of an economic collapse. They see that their degrees will be worthless and they will need men's help. The men they go to will probably tell them to fuck off because of how men have been treated. Then there are the men who realize how much freedom there is in not having families, and it will be hard to convince them to give that up. Women know that they can get away with their behavior because they're protected by the law. If we have a no shit collapse, They know that will no longer be the case. So they need a convenient scapegoat to hopefully be spared of any potential retribution from men. Maybe I'm giving women too much credit. I you are, and not out of naivete or stupidity on their part. I'll explain it here in a second, but that's the one thing I very much disagree with you. Not vehemently. I just believe it is the opposite. I do not believe, yes, 160 million American women. Yes, some are going to be aware. The vast majority of women are unaware as to what they've done. They're not, and this is where you kind of said it yourself. You don't have any disdain or ill will towards them. It's human nature. This is where I think we've advanced. Again, I want to point out many thanks to Thinking Ape on YouTube. He's the one that kind of like it was there in front of my face the entire time. Women genetically do not like men that much. Then you throw in the institutions or the boogeymen that you said that realized this and maybe accelerated it, leaned into it, and pushed it to almost make it an identity for profit and gain, which I'll explain a little bit later. Women, I don't think woke up with an intense hatred for men or anything like that, but they leaned into this cultural push of us versus them. And since women generally didn't like most men most of the time, they're like, yeah, I don't need a man. Without considering what the consequences and ramifications might be, telling an entire, well, couple generations, but telling an entire sex that they're not needed, entire half of the population that they're not needed. I don't think it was malicious. I don't think they're like, ha ha ha, we really secretly like men, but we're going to play this game and act like a cartel to get back at those nasty, wasty. I don't really believe it was most of that. I believe it's just human nature for reasons that biologically we could discuss later at some other time. And since it's not conscious, I don't think they're aware. Like right now, a lot of girls like, we didn't launch no more. Really, right now, there's girls just like, what did we do to men? They've been oppressing us. Da, 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 da. They're completely unaware of what their absence, what the removal from men's lives have done to men, and how an emotional, and here's the key to it's an emotional insult, not an intellectual insult. And that's where you boys, I think, could find a lot of peace. And you take it when you're rejected, you're naturally uh, angry or hurt or all that. But if you're intelligent about, like, okay, that person didn't want to have anything to do with me, and that person has a right to not want to do it. I mean, think about it, ladies. If we said, girls, get out of here, we don't need you anymore. I mean, this is bullshit. We're not dealing with you. Blah, 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 go away. An intelligent response would be, well, if that's how men feel, that's how men feel. But very few humans are able to set aside being rejected or to overlook being rejected and not let it have them a slight emotional effect on them. Very few are capable of just being the emotional or the intellectual type, like, well, that's what they want. I mean, and you get older. Look, do you want to negotiate and pull teeth to get a girl to like you? No, man, yeah, okay, cool. You don't you don't like me. That's fine. All right. You don't hate me. You're just not that fine. All right, that's cool. And that's why I've been trying to get guys to realize, like, look, they're just not that interested in you. So you really got to change your tactics and strategies so you're not wasting your time. And you're not harassing girls. That's another thing. I don't mean in an illegal sense, but just annoying them. And that you have tremendous economic and opportunity costs for you chasing girls that just aren't that interested. But that again is a different discussion. Where do your requests go? Women know they can get away with this behavior because they're protected by the law. Some maybe, but no. If we have a no shit collapse, they know that will no longer be the case. No, because if there was this street smarts, if they were aware of the economic ramifications of kicking men out of their lives and out of society, they'd be like, oh crap. One of two things would happen. They'd stop it, or they themselves would say, all right, and we're going to Rosie the Riveter up and we're going to become tradeswomen. And we're going to become engineers. We're going to do our own thing. They're not doing that. They are not aware of what has happened. They are not aware of the critical balance and relationship men and women had with each other and how that was critical to society. So they need a convenient scapegoat to hopefully be spared of any potential retribution from men. maybe I'm giving them too much credit. Yes. Down the road, maybe they might realize it where it's like, oh my God, oh, it wasn't me. Tee, the old school tee, it was just a phase. That may be coming, but it's not. No, it's not here. That's not it. No. All right. So let me go to my notes. Where did my notey notes go? Gotta go to my notey notes. Okay, so here's the progress. Let's follow me through on this line of thinking. Women never liked men that much in the first place, right? However, unfortunately, I would say for them, in order to survive, they needed a men. They were dependent upon men. This may have sowed over the eons and the generations a even genetic resentment of men, but I don't know if it necessarily hate. Maybe if it's so, I don't know. But they're not like, oh my God, my man is the greatest guy. Those women are so rare. It is indifference and annoyance. Okay. Their dependency, I think, sowed some general cultural wide, sex wide resentment. Not a hatred, but a resentment. Industrial revolution, technology revolution comes along. Now women can work white collar work and they don't need men. They don't. It's a factual statement. It's not a well thought out one. If you're a smarter economist, you're like, oh shit, that's going to have bad consequences. But women don't need men. And then, as I've said, in conjunction with that, in democracies, we voted in welfare states. So women also have an added insurance policy with the government that you're doubly removed from men. You're double insured against men. You can work. And if that doesn't work, you can collect a government check and you're going to be taken care of. You are truly liberated from men. Now, through design or intelligence or accident or trial and error, I think feminism has definitely codified it, especially since the 60s, turning feminism into a brand almost. The institutions you mentioned, the boogeymen, they figured out through trial and error, not even consciously, though sometimes consciously, but like, wow, that worked. Let's do that again. They just leaned into it. Some of them more capitalize on it, like like the girl boss, all the horse shit that's come out of Disney the past 5 years. You know what we're talking about. The Democrat Party, you don't need no strong independent women. Da, 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 da. Uh, it was to their benefit and interest to play into it, and there was some form of profit that these institutions got, a tremendous amount of profit. In terms of politics, the Democrat Party or left parties overseas, depending on which country you're in, the Labor Party, they got votes. Okay. Like, you don't need no man, girl power, tribalism, rally under the flag of women, rah, rah. So you get votes. And those guys over there are the bad guys. There's tuition. Colleges and universities have profited tremendously, charging what, 3, 4 maybe coming up with alpha generations of young women for worthless horseshit degrees, which actually does not help women. It's not feminist at all. It hurts you. But you guys know I've banged my head against that wall many times. They've profited off of feminism and girl boss and the sex war. And then corporations profit from it in two main ways. One, they get a lot more labor, cheaper, increase the money supply. I'm sorry, the labor supply puts a downward effect on wages. And then also women make their own money. That's the whole point of the rise of the she economy, where I think it's the fastest growing consumer demographic is marrying age women, young women who are single. And so not only do they get cheaper labor, they also get future consumers. You need twice the amount of housing because people aren't living together. You need twice the amount of handbags because handbags are just so important. You need twice what else do single women buy? Twice the amount of wine, twice the amount of all the stereotypes. You think, it's a stereotype. It ain't really like. And then until you run into them and they're crying, they're in the box of wine and they got a cat. You're like, it's not a stereotype. It's not a joke. It's real. It's totally for realsies. So you have these large corporate, government, and higher education. I would say maybe a fourth institution would be the the culture of feminism itself, where you have believers and adherents that you, through a sick, twisted, warped way, you need followers to verify and validate that you made the right choices because you can't have women going and being happily married in tradition. You got to keep young women from being traditional because if they go back to being traditional, might find out they like it more, then that invalidates your entire existence, especially when you pin your entire life value, your entire religion is feminism. It's not a huge part of the economy or the people or the population, but it's there. So those for what did you have for a fourth? Uh, you have government, corporations, feminism, and social media. Okay, media. I would call that I'd throw that in with corporations. I'd throw that in with corporations. But anyway, so women never liked men that much. Liberated with the industrial revolution, white collar work, and further solidified their independence from men with welfare state. Now they are allowed to be themselves and choose men or not choose men. And it looks like they're largely not choosing men. And these institutions started leaning into it where it's like, hey, we can play on this residual resentment, their antagonism, their dislike, their annoyance of men. It's easy to have us versus them. It's a dichotomy, men and women. And we can get them for votes, tuition money, corporate money, and cheap labor. We just got to give them this little nudge. We just got to push them the way they already want to go a little bit and codify it and give them something to believe in unto its own religion. Women, I say, largely have fallen for it. I think it's pretty complete when you are willing to outsource the raising of your children to daycare. And by the way, I'm in the minority of opinion on that, but I'm not wrong. It's that meme where it's like, yes, all of you are wrong because you are wrong. Right? Where you are outsourcing your kids to strangers to raise them. It's wrong. It's just wrong. And by the way, I'm for like some parent, I don't care which, stay home, take care of the kid. But traditionally it's been women and girls like, raise children. What are you? A Neanderthal? Is like, do you have a soul? It's your fucking kid. Like, what is wrong with you? So I'm very adamant about that. So using that or how much money they spend or how much pride they take in or how much money they spend on tuition for really bad degrees. Their choices past 3 generations have made it very clear that, yes, they were not that interested in men, and one could say this is an experimental stage we are in humanity where women are like, "Oh, yeah, we actually are living without men," because that's kind of what they want, and then want and well, we want men, but only those top tier men, but we don't get the top tier men. We don't want any of you guys, and we're perfectly happy being on our own. So, up until this point, there's been no intellectual hypocrisy or contradiction with women. Yes, they might have been pushed and influenced by political, corporate, profit motivated forces, but I think this was wind already in their sails. I think these guys are just putting a hydroelectric dam where water was flowing and they're just generating electricity. I think women generally do not like men that much. And when given a choice, would prefer a life without them. Generally speaking, average man, average woman. Now, that's their right. And if you think going back in the days, how many of their mothers, grandmothers, great great grandmothers had to be with guys they didn't like because the guy was the one putting the food on the table. And I'm not idealistic. No, there was no abuse. No, it was not fun. It was not voluntary. And so you have the mindset today, like, this is correct. We're moving in the right direction. We will go out with you for love if we actually love you, not out of necessity or economic dependence. However, in removing themselves from the vast majority of men's life, because women are just not attracted to the vast majority of men, they have unconsciously removed this critical Jenga piece to the economy and civilization, and that is, men. Because I got the book here. Here's why I want you all read. Women too want to be open-minded. Go get this book, A World Without Men, an analysis of an all-female economy. What I asked is I said, well, what do men make and what do women make? It's at the Department of Labor. I don't know if the data is still there, the link. I'm surprised it was up actually, but I saved the Excel spreadsheet. So don't worry, Department of Labor, if you're trying to purge your website there. I said, okay, bluntly, men work for sex and our family. We don't got no sex. We don't got no family. Surprise, we ain't going to work. Which is kind of what's happening now. And I looked at, say, well, what's going to happen if men, let's just remove men from the economy. It's not going to happen. It's not. I, I jokingly say I back out. I very cleverly through economics and math back out female and recreate, or back out male and recreate female production. What are the standards of living like? I say, well, using these metrics, it would be like living in Kenya. I'm not joking. It'd be like living in Kenya. Now, it wouldn't even be like living in Kenya. There's so many points of failure. The electrical grid, the computers, cars, transportations, combustion, and energy generation alone, food. You would just all die. There would be no civilization. You'd be all dead in Komoda. No one's gonna know where that is. What show that's from. Society will collapse without men. And this is, I even talk about, it's the unfortunate curse that women have. You could choose. You can have independence, absolutely independence from men. But if you have it, you're going to have to choose one of two things. You're going to have a lower standard of living, or you're going to have to do the jobs that men do. And we're going to find out where generally, some women are becoming tradeswomen. I just did a video on that. Generally, where they're going to go, or you're going to have to go back to being dependent upon men. You're going to have to make men happy. And that is, if you think about it, that's a horrible situation. Well, I don't like that guy. Yeah, I know. But if you'd like your toilet fixed, I haven't gotten to society and government and taxation. Don't worry. I'm just saying right now, as we've gone down this progression, women liberated by the Industrial Revolution, now they can be themselves. Generally, they're retreating from men. They don't want to have anything to do with men on the whole. And men are shutting down, saying we're not going to do it. You look at what men do. Basically, we build all of society. Oh, read the book. It's interesting with the pie charts. Like, oh shit, that percent would go away. Boy, we are so dead. But I don't think, and this is where you're talking about women are aware that if without men, the nuclear reactors will fall apart and this and that, and that. No, I don't think they are. And the reason why is twofold, especially in the West, but especially the United States. One, we have technology that keeps advancing and kind of masks over, and we can produce more with less, right? So we can get by. But we also have the world's reserve currency here in the United States. Here's why I want, hear me out. Listen to me, okay? Come on a intellectual journey with me. What if China just decided, we ain't selling you our shit no more? Would China just said, no, the shipping ends. We're not giving you anything else. How long do you think we'd last? How long? And with the United States world reserve currency, our ability to essentially just print off money and the world has to eat it, and borrowing, we're able to keep this facade for a while to make up for men's decreasing participation in the labor force, which is not an opinion. That's true. That's what's happening. And we can play these financial printing off money, borrowing, financing games for a little while. The point is going to come. Someone's going to say, I don't want your U.S. debt. No, we don't accept dollars. We accept yuan, or we accept rubles, or we accept yen, but we're not taking dollars anymore. Dollar's going to go down. All that currency comes back here. No, we can't afford buying foreign stuff no more. People don't want our dollars. When that happens, then we're going to have a true economic collapse. Then it won't matter how much government welfare promise there is. There ain't going to be nothing to buy. And then we're going to go right back to the reset button where it's like, oh, we got to provide our own shit. Who provides this shit? Oh, that'd be largely men. And then by shit, I mean like basic stuff, shelter, food. Like imagine, it wouldn't be this bad necessarily where there'd be no electricity or anything like that. But if Americans actually had to produce their own stuff instead of relying on Zhang or Jose to do it overseas for us, Here's our green money. Thank you. Ha ha ha. So far, the economy hasn't collapsed. We might have gone through some recessions and all, but it hasn't collapsed. Men's retreat from the economy has not been felt because because we have foreign men essentially producing our shit for and some foreign women. And kids, don't forget the kids, right, Nike? Right, Apple? Because Trisha needs the latest iPhone 3600. So I don't think they're aware of it. I don't think you go up to they're not aware that, hey, we removed ourselves from the love lives of men. What are the economic consequences? Have you looked up the Bureau of Labor Statistics and what men and women? No, they haven't. Until a year or two ago, did I? I mean, I kind of knew you could look at it. No one is aware. The average American is more concerned on what Tay-Tay sings. The average American is more concerned about whether the Detroit Broncos played off against the Miami Tigers in the third quarter. I don't know. They're more excited about that's more important. So I don't think now there are some gals like Rachel Wilson and some of the more savvy gals, independent minded type. Sure, they're there, but by and large, the vast majority of women are one unaware just what I would say death knell, just how harmful, no, just devastating how devastating it is to have rejected men as a whole for understandably the right to freedom, but they still don't understand how devastating that is to men and how demoralizing it is to men and what the absolutely disastrous economic consequences are when men stop working because they have no reason to work. They just got to survive and get by on themselves. Again, I can't recommend that enough. A World Without Men, an analysis of an all-female economy. I'll go into much more detail, much more consequences. I'm giving you the abbreviated menu here. And because the lights are still on and Becky's car still turns on, we're starting to get there with inflation. You're starting to realize, oh, auto insurance going up. Oh, you can't afford housing. I wonder who builds housing. Well, ladies, ain't nobody stopping you from becoming a tradeswoman. You could become a plumber too. Well, they're not going to do it. We're starting to get there. We're starting to feel it a little bit. There's the occasional article where you got a bunch of, hear me now, I mean this, truly stupid people in the media. Oh, we can't, male labor force participation's going down. What is it last week? 7.2 million a million men aren't working. Oh, and I don't even have to watch the show or read the article. You're not going to, pussy, men demand pussy. Because they can't say it. Oh, well, there's a lot of contributing factors here, Professor, Dick Sucklow. Well, what do you think? Oh, well, we got to go and raise awareness, and we need more diversity and equity programs to tell minority men. How about you make the women thin and nice again? Oh, you can't say that because you're a fake economist. You're a fake political analyst. You're a fake fraud. Oh, well, it's the sun. It's the plastics in the water. Yeah, it's the plastics in the water. It isn't the fucking nose ring on a 300-pound buffalo walking through Walmart that normally in times past might have been a $1.15 hottie who would have made a sandwich and been nice to a guy. Yeah. Even the media is unaware. Like, oh, it's not that I'm good. It's that everyone else is so bad at their fucking jobs that I'm not some fucking genius saying, hey, men need to get laid and need hot women in order to go work and be motivated. If they ain't going to have family, they ain't going to work that much. But the media, and nothing's broken yet. Nothing's gone down yet. Nothing's, Titanic, it had a big gaping hole, kept on sailing for a while after. I don't know how long, but it took a while. But it's taking on water. You're losing male work. The point in time will come then, like, why isn't the electricity on? Or ladies, tell me if I'm right here because you just love crime. You vote pro-crime because you vote Democrat all the time. Because I want to help out. You did this thing, kumbaya, and then all the criminals will stop doing the criminal thing. You don't like cops, right? ACAB, all cops are bastards, right? You want to, right? Generally speaking, when the cops don't call because their radios didn't charge because the electricity went out, and now they're just doing zone patrol, then, oh, yeah, then you're going to be like, oh, wait, why are we in this position again? And dude, it might take generations for them to figure out. I still get a kick, the guy who is currently being tried for second-degree manslaughter, I believe, in New York for choking that guy out who was kind of like acting crazy and threatening people on the subway. Like you and me and intelligent people, like that's why. That. There you go. We're this close from, Anna. We understand it. There are people actually having a fucking court case over this. Like what? What? You have multiple big city mayors allowing people just roam in streets and shit. Be naked, shoot up heroin, steal. San Francisco, you're allowed to steal up to $950. You're starting to see it start to come along a little bit. It's going to start coming along a little bit. Little bits and pieces of it, seeing it here and there. But if they're that dense, I mean, and I have a feeling that Kamala will win. Not to say the national election represents these things, but you're not going to see a change. The electricity is still on for Becky in Winnetka. The cops are still adequately paid in Edina for Trisha. And we just need to vote for more money for the poor people. Don't let all the immigrants come in. I don't know. Why is housing so expensive? Well, at least I got my house. It will be a long time before a traditional classical natural order like nature. You better find a guy because he's going to protect you. Better find the baddest motherfucker around. And this is where you start getting harems and warlords and, why Abraham had a concubine because he was a farmer and could feed that many people. You're going to go back to that. I don't know. It depends how quickly the economy comes. There's a lot of ifs. I'm not saying we'd come, Mad Max or anything like that. But right now, where your biggest problem is, they're charging $70 for a video game. As long as people could still qualify in their FAFSA for paying, $80,000 to attend Middlebury, they're not. A very precious few street smart women are like, hey, wait a minute. We've been treating men. They're unaware that they've been treating you like shit or rejecting you. They still think that you've oppressed them, even though, like, I was born in 1995. What are you talking about? They're still under that current zeitgeist. They're still under that philosophy, indoctrination training. Kamala, I'm going to bet she's going to win. I could be wrong. They're going to celebrate that because, of course, vagina, that's merit. It's got vagina. Well, obviously, it's better. They'll be too busy celebrating that on the decks of the Titanic. But then there'll be CNN for the 18th time. Oh, my gosh. 9.7 million men aren't working. Oh, my, what's going on? And it's the unfortunate reality that men and women are going to have to realize that they need each other in order for society to survive. But we're not there yet. Things are still going well. I mean, look at it. We're on the internet now. You're watching me live, 387 of you. I mean, we're a ways away. And you know what? It just has to keep being this way until the nanosecond after I die. And then after that, the electricity can all go out. You can burn down all your buildings. I just wait till I'm dead. Then you guys can all kill each other. But yes, they do not. It really, imagine, here's a simpler way to put it. What football team is going to do better? The football team that has a bunch of cheerleaders cheering them on, or the football team where the cheerleaders are yelling and cursing at them and throwing shit at them and accusing them of crime and that they're oppressing them? Which football team is going to do better? That's really what you're at right now. And I'm looking, I'm like, you're wondering why the football team is losing games when you throw shit at them? And your cheerleaders are 300 pounds with mutilated hair and what the hell? Really? Yeah, yeah, go talk to sociologists. So, I don't believe there people are men are looking for someone to blame. And they're not necessarily wrong for the institutions or the boogeymen promoting this or accelerating it. Uh, Men should be blaming some of these institutions for not having a candid conversation about what happens if we're changing this new social dynamic. Um, so men are asking who's to, and sometimes they will blame those institutions, and they've contributed. They've thrown fuel on the fire, but the fire was already there. Women just really don't like you men that much, and we need to have another conversation. We don't have. I guess we don't have to do anything if you don't want to. If we wish to have the electricity, if you wish to have men participate, then there's got to be a reason for men to participate in society. And I don't see how you square that circle because um, you're asking men to overcome their nature, where it was in women's nature to just be disinterested in men. So I don't know where we go. I know where we go. We generally decay, and then like, oh shit, we learn it all over again. But if we were to avoid a collapse, you would have to say, okay, what can we do to motivate men to work again? Yelling at them and accusing you of all their problems and making it risky to work with you. And all, what is it? The UK now? I guess you can go to jail for tweeting out something that might be they're viewing misogyny as terroristic. I will keep and the paradox women face. What if women don't like men that much? What if they want to eat? What if they want to dye their hair purple? That's their right. You can't force women to like men. So it's a absolutely fascinating time we're at. But girls are not at the point of blaming the boogeymen. They're not there yet. When there's no food and I don't know, their child die, well, maybe they don't care because they shipped kids off to daycare anyway. When something tragic happens, very bad, and they have to ask why, then they might start thinking about it. But right now, times are not tough. We are not in the bad enough times where the strong men and women form. So I hope that made some sense. All right. Do we have any super chats? We have no super chats. Awesome. Yeah, this would have been a good one to have super chats on, but we'll save that all till later. Link below is A World Without Men, an analysis of an all-female economy. If you girls are interested in kind of like, well, wait, what was the consequences of us kind of waging an unconscious war against men? What happened? Did we wage an unconscious war? You kind of did. I love to see the comment section below when we say, no, we didn't. It's like, okay, just go be a fat, brick throwing cheerleader while we're trying to play our game here. Why ain't the men playing? They didn't win it. Christ, we're not even married. You're already nagging my ass. All right. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.